Hello everyone, this is Dr. Seema Khaneja, and thank you so much for joining me in this 5-part video series. So today we're going to talk about our first step, and the first step is commitment. So obviously the fact that you signed up and you're already a parent already shows that you've made a commitment. But we're going to look at that a little more deeply. And when I first became a parent, I think when my son was a toddler, I found a book written by Jon Kabat-Zinn, who's world-renowned for his work on mindfulness. And this was a book that he wrote with his wife. And it was called Everyday Blessings. And it was a book about parenting with awareness, parenting with mindfulness. And it was one of those books that you couldn't really read cover to cover, but it became like a resource for me. So I would have it either with me at home. I would often take it to my office. At that time I was practicing primary care pediatrics. And I can't think of, I must have referred so many parents to that book. So that's a great resource, and I will put a link in here on the Facebook page for that book. But one of the phrases in that book that really spoke to me was that when John and his wife became parents with their first child, they have 3 kids. So he said that when they were going to start a family and then they became parents, he realized when he was looking at his newborn son that he had made a commitment to an 18-year sesshin. So those words were so powerful to me. So those of you that have practiced mindfulness or have any exposure to the Buddhist culture, the Buddhist tradition, a sesshin is a silent retreat, and it could be 2 days, 3 days, it can be 7 days long, and it can be quite intense because you need to sit and watch your thoughts and watch your mind react to them and really stay in that position. And this could be, a couple of hours, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it might be based on your level and all of that of practice. But the point was that in a sesshin, your purpose is set from the beginning. So you make a commitment, and part of commitment is the purpose. What is this for? And so the purpose is for peace. And so this series, to me, is really about parenting for inner peace. And peace means joy. Peace means love. Peace means happiness. So if you enter a sesshin, there's going to be all kinds of thoughts that are going to come, and some are pleasant, some are not pleasant, but you stay committed. You stay committed. You're going to run. You're going to stay for the course. And such is with parenting, that we have all of the amazing moments and we have all of the really difficult moments. And if we try to separate things out and choose what we would like and push away what we wouldn't like, it gets really, really difficult. So this isn't about parenting, for Vogue magazine or something like that. This is like real parenting, and it can be intense. But when I had that idea of parenting being like an 18-year sesshin, I felt this sense of, this is going to be whatever it's going to be, and I'm committed, and my purpose is for inner peace. So the whole function and the whole role of parenting started to become my teacher. That it was going to teach me about how to be more present, how to be mindful, how to experience more inner peace. And instead of seeing myself as the expert or having to, consult every expert on Facebook or reach for every parenting book, I did my share of reading, of course, being a pediatrician, all of that. But really, I let the experience be my teacher. So I want you to think about commitment. What is your commitment to your child? What is parenting for? What is the ultimate purpose? What is it that you want to receive out of parenting? What is it that you want to give from your parenting? And the thing is that as our kids get older, it gets so complicated. There seem to be an endless array of things that we need for our children. It starts from, things like the diapers and the different brand of diapers, or let's say if you're feeding formula, what that would be. Or then it gets to the different toys, then it's going to be books, then it's going to be schools and, different schools, and then it gets to activities, and it goes on and on and on. So it can get so complicated. But if you remind yourself of what is your purpose, what is your initial commitment, what was your original commitment, that can help ground you. And let me offer you another scenario that might be helpful. Think about the time when you held your newborn for the first time. Just remember that. And what were you feeling? What was going through your mind? Now, I remember when I first met Hridesh, I was just in a state of awe and wonder, that this little being was here, and everything about him was amazing. So it didn't matter, all the diapers that were changed and the sleepless nights and, the endless rounds of laundry, whatever. There was just this amazement at this being, just the miracle of birth. So when we first meet our child, we're not really thinking about, are they going to go to Harvard or Yale, or how well they're going to do in this or that, or will this be there for them or not be there for them. We're so with them in that moment. And I know as a pediatrician, no matter how many times I have done exams or I've attended deliveries, there is something about that newborn period, that period of time when children are, just a few days to a few weeks or a few months old, or even as they get older, but especially in that first several weeks, first 4 to 5 months or so, I would say that these children are just pure awareness. They're just pure awareness. And so I remember when I would just do whatever I was doing, like listen to their hearts, use my stethoscope, I would breathe as they were breathing. Just take a nice deep breath. And so I just want you to reconnect with those original first times that you spent with your child. And if your child is a teenager, you might want to spend more than a few moments, because you may have to reach a little bit, and it will be well worth your time. Because even though they're bigger and the problems seem different and maybe more complicated, the commitment is the same. So whether you're on day 1 of Sesshin or the last day of Sesshin or anything in between, the commitment doesn't change. It's to be present, to be aware, to be willing to learn. And instead of us feeling like we have to know everything, we can be open to let the moment teach us. And every moment is different. So it feels like we get the hang of parenting, and then our kids grow, and then there's something new, and there's something new, and that's kind of part of the journey. When you're in Sesshin, your mind is shifting and changing. Different thoughts are coming, different thoughts are leaving. The way you're sitting might be different. The way you're breathing might be different. So it's all about not trying to fix or change, but it's like not push anything away, not cling to it. So in this experience of parenting, we'll have a gamut of experiences, and we want to embrace all of it. We want to embrace all of it, because that's the way we can really, really be in the present moment. So the other thing that I wanted to share with you is a story, because the experience of parenting can be given a different purpose. It can become a teacher, and we can become a learner, but our children can also be our teachers. So there's a beautiful story that some of you may know, and it's a story of parents and their 2 little girls. So they have a 3-year-old, and they have this little baby, this newborn. And the 3-year-old keeps insisting that she be allowed to be alone with the newborn. So the parents are concerned. They're maybe thinking, is there some sibling rivalry going on? Will everyone be safe? So they think about this for a while, they reflect, and then they decide to let their 3-year-old be with the newborn, and they're going to leave the door open a little bit, and there's a baby monitor. So if something is would be concerning, they can step right in. So they do this, and they're outside, and this little 3-year-old girl, she walks to the bassinet where her baby sister is there, and she kind of, like a 3-year-old, she kind of looks to one side, she looks to the other side to make sure that no adults are around, no one is around. And then she leans slowly over, and this is what she says: "Baby, baby, tell me about God. I'm starting to forget." So every time I think about this story, I still get goosebumps, because it speaks to so much. Now, if the word God is not part of your vocabulary, or it doesn't feel comfortable for you, no worries. You could substitute love with a capital L. You could substitute peace. You could substitute joy, oneness, whatever means that sense of connection and love and joy, peace, whatever word works for you. So it's amazing that this little girl already is aware that there is something that her baby sister can teach her that her adult parents, who should know everything, cannot. And this is what's so humbling, that these little beings that seem to be tiny and powerless, and especially if I'm thinking about infants, seem to need us for everything, they are still more connected to this place of presence than we are. And that is why they can be our teachers. So when we look at that word of commitment into what am I committed to learning about? What can parenting be a vehicle that will teach me about love, joy, happiness? You see how you can become a partner with your child and the parenting experience right from the start. And that changes the dynamics so that from the beginning you're practicing listening, you're practicing pausing, you're practicing the I don't know mind, you're practicing tuning in. And once again, I'm going to share from an experience I had with a client and her baby, and just watching her while we were having lunch. And like most moms, but especially I could see it with this mother, because she does have a practice of mindfulness and awareness, that she was just tuning into how much the baby needed to eat. She was nursing the baby and stopping, and did the baby need to be changed, and then baby nursed again, and now the baby is sleepy. So it was like a constant feedback of, because obviously the baby can't tell us. And it's like we forget to do that as our kids get older. And it's sort of ironic, because now they can talk and they can communicate, so it should be easier. But something happens where we feel like maybe our way is the right way, or sometimes we are in a situation where we can't assert ourselves, and we can go on the opposite end, that it's all about love, and we don't bring in that healthy dose of wisdom where sometimes you need to say no. So there's no formula, but if you can start to think about the purpose you would give parenting, and that it's a commitment to stay with it, that all you're being asked to do is to show up, and that the experience and your child can be your teacher, it might be less stressful for you, that you don't have to have all this figured out. I know I certainly didn't. And I really let my son be my teacher. So a final anecdote I'm going to share is from my own life, and it's actually in an article that's on the Coaching for Inner Peace website, and I'll probably link to that article again in the Facebook page. Is when my son was about, I want to say he was about 3.5, And it was a very challenging time for me. I was running my own pediatric practice. I needed to get him to daycare for a certain period of the time so then I could go to work. The woman who had been my assistant had an injury, so she wasn't able to be there, and I was kind of worried about her well-being. So there was just, my mind was like, a mile a minute. It was 1,000 miles a minute. It was like just really, really scattered. And my son was being a 3-year-old, and he just wasn't cooperating. So I was trying, and finally he just looked at me and he spoke to me like a 15-year-old. That's what I felt. But this is what he said. And he looked at me right, like just directly eye to eye. And he said, "Mommy, you need to relax. Let's just stay home today." And the way he said it totally disarmed me, because, here I was trying to practice mindful parenting with awareness and all that stuff, reading these books, and he was calling me, he was showing me that I did need to relax. I was feeling totally stressed out. So I remember just kind of sinking into the chair next to his bed and just sitting with it, like doing nothing, just sitting, just being in the moment. And then I realized that I was going to take a day off, and I did. I called, made a couple of changes. We just spent the day at home, and subsequently I realized that his resistance to go to this daycare also had to do with the fact that the daycare wasn't the best setting for him. So I ended up pulling him out of that daycare maybe a week or a couple of weeks later. So, in a way, he was showing me something that had I not kind of, let go of my way, I wouldn't have heard it. So this is just a small scenario, and I'm sure, you're going to find your own, but it just shows you that you can use everything that's happening to you in parenting, like a scientist will use whatever they are doing in the laboratory to just kind of assess and kind of, retrace your path. Maybe you want to go to a different way. Maybe this isn't working. Maybe something else will work. That there's like 100 ways to do this. There's no one way. And you, your child, and the moment can sort this out together. So I want you to think about your commitment, your purpose, what goal do you have in mind with parenting. I want you to see if you can broaden that goal so it's less about specifics and more about the general feeling, that feeling space you want to be in, because that's the place where you can meet your child, because they are in that space with you. So I hope this will be helpful to you. Please post comments. Let me know about what you're thinking about these ideas. And if you have some scenarios or anecdotes you want to share, I'd love to hear stories as well. And if you have questions as well. All right, take care and happy parenting. Namaste.